Back AFC East divisional preview. We were only a couple divisions away from finishing this series up. So guess what? We're just going to finish it up. We're going to do the previews. 2 more divisions to do, and one of those includes the AFC East. And we did get to see a little bit of there was a rookie quarterback in the AFC East that we certainly were going to keep our eyes on. But this is a solid fantasy football division. I like it. So, Stoweby, I'll ask you. By the way, joined by me, Jon Jansen, at JJansen34 on Twitter. Joined by Stoweby. You can follow him at Stoweby. See that nice Twitter handle on the bottom there. We will be giving away a free Win Daily membership. All you have to do, just let us know your favorite ADP value for a player in the AFC East. Simple as that. Just let us know your favorite one, and that is all you have to do. Stoweby, I'll start off with this. AFC East in terms of fantasy football divisions, how are we looking here? How are these 4 teams looking?
I mean, as far as a value standpoint, I kind of like them. It doesn't look like anybody's too high on the majority of the guys. Maybe like, Josh Allen is going high, but that's just more because I don't like going after the quarterbacks early. So as far as the value goes, I mean, there's several little spots here that I like looking at, and guys like Damien Harris, I really like at their ADP. So yeah, there's definitely a few targets here that I like to look at.
Yeah, there is. And you know what? We'll start off with that Buffalo one because obviously there are some top guys there. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. I will ask you just about the Stephon Diggs first. How high are you drafting him? Like, is he the number 1 receiver on your board? Is he number 2? Just where is he at? Because he is number 2 right now in the season-long rankings, right behind Davante Adams. But just in your eyes, where are you ranking Stephon Diggs? Because I imagine on some boards he might be number 1.
He's 2 on my board behind Davante Adams. When Aaron Rodgers came back, he slid down to number 2. He was top of the heap until that happened. But Davante just gets such a preposterous amount of targets that I can't have anybody else but him at number 1.
Yeah, and the Buffalo wide receiver group does get interesting after that. You have Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. There's a lot of guys, and look, Gabriel Davis provided some good fantasy value last year. No, it was limited time. He didn't have many yards, but there were a few games last year that he was huge. And so it kind of begs the question then, like, how are we sorting out the rest? Like, how deep are we going into the Buffalo Bills wide receiver group in terms of fantasy? Because, I'll say one of my favorite late round guys is Gabriel Davis. Like, I think he could eventually take over the spot for Emmanuel Sanders, who's a 34-year-old wide receiver, played well last year, but still had a major injury. And, I think eventually that's going to get to him. But, a 34-year-old wide receiver going up against a young guy like Davis, who is really talented, I think he's going to take away some usage and some targets from Sanders, Beasley. I think Davis is a guy that can certainly insert himself into that conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Davis. Davis is actually, over the last few weeks, he's actually been going a little bit higher than Emmanuel Sanders. Oddly,
nice.
He's sitting at right around 150 in ADP, and then Emmanuel Sanders is right around 167, 168.
Is that what you think it should be?
As of right now, yeah. Until we start seeing some preseason games where they do some dress rehearsals. Week 2, week 3. The game's coming up. Week 1, you pretty much know it's a lot of guys fighting for depth, and you're just trying to read the tea leaves to see who's going to get on the 53-man roster. But I think that sounds about right for right now until we see, if injuries shake out or if something changes or if any of these guys get dinged up. That feels about right because, I mean, you're getting really, really good value on a potential number 2 receiver, and it's not gonna kill you if they don't pan out.
Now, as I just mentioned last season, there were a lot of wide receivers that got involved for the Bills. So, again, how deep are we going? But, how are you targeting Buffalo Bills wide receivers? Because this is, and I really want you to talk about the offense, because this offense it's now a high-volume passing offense. This is meant for Josh Allen to just drop back 40 times and, so be it, whatever happens, whether he scrambles, runs, but it's just meant for Josh Allen's supreme physical talents to be on display. and that means plenty of targets to go around.
Oh yeah, there were games in the playoffs where they didn't do a single running play until like the third quarter.
Right.
That was insane because I know because I had like either a combination of like Singletary or Moss in my DFS lineup. So I remember, pulling my damn hair out last season watching them not run the ball when they didn't need to. Like it's absolute insanity. I think that you can take a chance with the value on this ADP for all three of these receivers.
Love it.
Beasley, Sanders, or Davis. Just if you're playing multiple leagues, take your pick. It's not going to kill you. You're getting them at the 14th and the 15th round at that point. So if you're getting lucky and getting yourself a number 2 receiver in a high volume offense, I mean, you're doing really, really well right there. So, I mean, my preference would be right now would be Emmanuel Sanders, but I can see Gabriel Davis kind of ended up taking over that number 2 spot as far as targets go.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I loved him coming out of UCF, and I think he is a very talented wide receiver that is going to demand attention from Josh Allen. How do you look at the running backs with Buffalo? Because I know Nick likes Zach Moss. Guy sticks picks.
Yep.
Love Zach Moss. I do too. I think he's the number 1 back, but I'm not overly joyed about the talent that Moss is. Like, I think he's just a really average running back on an offense that really doesn't run the ball. So I think it's very limited, his ceiling, but with where he's going, I think it's kind of worth taking a chance on him or drafting him in the hopes of you do get a couple of good games and you do get the touchdown volume, which I think you can expect. He is probably the one who's going to get the most goal line carries out of this backfield, which that I think is fine drafting where he is currently at in his ADP.
Oh yeah. You're getting him right around 100. That's fine. I mean, if they decide they want to start running the ball a little bit more, that'd be fantastic for him. I mean, Singletary looked pretty damn good in that preseason game. I mean, I know it was, week 1, we all know that, but
he's always looked good, right? It's just, it feels like just all of the other stuff, you just can't do. He's not a complete back at this point. No, he's a talented one really with the ball in his hands, though.
Oh yeah, when you get him out in space, he is amazing. But like that's always been my concern with Zach Moss. Even last year, it's like he may get the goal line touches, but he's only going to get them if Allen decides he doesn't want to take it in himself. And that's a concern that I always have with a running quarterback, and that's I give running backs a little bit of a ding when you also have a mobile quarterback like that, behind center. It's just they kind of eat into that touchdown equity. That's why I'm part of the reason why I'm worried about Kamara as much as I am in the event that Taysom Hill ended up being quarterback for New Orleans. The same way I feel about Lamar Jackson and the lack of touchdown equity with the Baltimore backfield. I feel the same way about Allen.
How early is too early for Josh Allen?
You're probably asking.
I think everything's too early.
Yeah,
he will always be drafted too early.
Yeah, and that was exactly what I was going to say. I'm a proponent of waiting on the quarterback. I don't, especially with as thin as your running back.
Well, just the odds of him repeating last season are
there's going to be regression.
It's not good. Yeah, there's always regression when it comes to this. Even after I keep referencing this because it's true. Patrick Mahomes, the season where he put up 50 touchdowns, he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback. The next season, I think he fell to like 8th. Lamar Jackson, he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback. He fell to 10th. So it's not there is regression that needs to be kind of packed into this. Now, can Josh Allen still be a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely. But I'm not drafting him this early to be a number 1 quarterback because the odds are he will regress. Yeah,
and part of the value that you're getting from these guys when they have their ceiling years is you're probably also getting them in the 7th through 10th, 11th, 12th round. People got to remember when Patrick Mahomes broke out, he was going late before people knew what was going on with him. And if you didn't see the writing on the wall, you could have probably scooped him up in waivers in some situations when he was getting his first shot on the field. So I mean, it's just the way that it works when it comes to quarterbacks. You also that gap in points. Now I know if Lamar Jackson has a ceiling season, his ceiling is so much higher than everybody else's because of his running ability, and I'm aware of that. But in the overall sense of things, your quarterbacks, there's not going to be much of an aggregate difference between, let's say, the fourth quarterback and the eighth quarterback. And it's just not worth that premium draft value to get those few extra points. I would rather, like, your top tier running backs are more valuable than your top tier quarterbacks. And that's just where my mind goes with that.
Now, speaking of running backs, I do want to go to the next team here in the AFC East. You're tuned into the AFC East preview, WinDailySports.com. Right now, there's promotion running up until the start of the football season. Use the promo code NFL2021, and you can get 6 months of Win Daily Sports for $199, which is $100 off of the $299 price value. So $100 off for 6 months. Just use the promo code NFL2021, and also included in that is our Guru expert chat that you can check out for Discord. You can get NFL season-long rankings, which all the rankings you hear here will be on the season-long rankings, and we're taking it from those. So you can get that. Cheat sheets, optimizers, projections, all of that to help you on NFL Sundays for WinDailySports.com. Just sign up. WinDailySports.com. Just sign up, and again, use the promo code NFL2021. So the next one, speaking of running backs, is the Miami Dolphins, because their running back situation, this was the first preseason kind of thing that I caught people's attention. You know, Malcolm Brown was getting carries. He was the one who was getting the bulk of the carries. And, you know, if there's one thing in preseason I think you can kind of get a firm grasp on is what situations these guys are going to play in, and also who is going to get maybe the volume. And it might have been telling that the Miami preseason game that Malcolm Brown got 16 carries or 16 snaps. Myles Gaskin only had 7. Does that concern you at all?
Not yet. Yeah. If I see it again, if next week, if
it's a pattern,
if you start to see that pattern there, I would start to show a little bit of concern. But right now, I'm not going to freak out about it. At the end of the day, it is still week 1 of the preseason. They are not going to. Most coaches are not going to sit there and risk injury to their starting running back, so they're going to typically shy away from too much volume. Now, I know it's not all of them, and the Miami coaching staff hasn't been there but a couple of seasons, but typically they're not going to try and put their guys in harm's way like that. So that may have just been them saving him from hurting himself, because Gaskin isn't a huge guy. You know, you don't want him to sit there and get a high ankle sprain and then deal with it for the next, 6 games of the regular season, and then have to wait for a bye week to finally get himself close to 100%. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but it's just something. Keep an eye and see if the percentages of those snaps starts to flip the other way, and then whenever they decide their dress rehearsal week, week 3 comes around, if that trend continues, it's okay. Don't go too crazy. It'll be all right.
Now, where before this, I guess, and kind of putting that conversation to the side of Malcolm Brown getting all those snaps in week 1 of the preseason, just where are you on Gaskin? To me, I feel like there is, almost like in a Zach Moss way, that there is a ceiling just because of the talent there. And I hate to knock Gaskin because I loved him coming out of Washington. I think he's a fun back. He was really good there in Washington when those teams were great. But there's a ceiling there. He's not fast. He's not big. He's got a little bit of elusiveness, but there's not much, and there's not really that explosiveness you would want in a guy his size. So to me, it all just came down to the fact that he's an all-around back. He can catch out of the backfield, and he could be a 3-down back. But if the volume's not there, I'm kind of out on Gaskin. Where are you on Myles Gaskin? Again, if we exclude kind of the Malcolm Brown preseason.
If I'm going like quarterback, running back in the first 2 rounds, he's one of my targets. A little later on, you're getting him right around the tail end of the 5th round, give or take. So if I don't go running back in my first 2 picks, he is one of my targets. So I do have a fair bit of him, like when I get Devontae Adams or when I get somebody like Diggs or something like that, when I want an elite wide receiver. But other than that, I don't find myself getting too much of him. Now, it looked like Miami was even though, like we said, don't freak out over anything, but it did look like they were trying to go with a traditional kind of run oriented kind of offense down there in Miami. And one thing, actually, to get on a little bit of a sidetrack, because I just watched it because I'm catching up on my film work. They it looked like they were making an effort to target the tight ends a lot.
Yeah,
it looked like they were trying to kind of force that a little bit. So that may be a little bit telling too.
Yeah, definitely. Did it make you think a little bit more about maybe Mike Gesicki or even some of the other tight ends? I guess for this purpose, just Mike Gesicki exclusively. But did it make you think a little bit harder about, hey, maybe Gesicki is kind of worth drafting where he's at?
Yeah, it did kind of make me think, and it's not like when we're saying drafting where he's at, it's not like he's terrible. He's not bad value. He's 12th, 13th, 14th round.
Right. Yeah.
So, seeing that did kind of make me think maybe I should go ahead and get some more shares of Gesicki, because they made a concerted effort to go after the tight ends early on in that game. It looked like that was going to be a focal point of their offense. They were running like 2 tight end sets, working them both in the routes from, I can't remember who's the other tight end that they got there. I'm having a complete brain.
Yeah, I blanked
Hunter Long.
Hunter Long. There you go.
Yeah. They were working Hunter Long and Mike Gesicki in there. So, and I wouldn't imagine Long's going to get too much work over Gesicki. So I think we might actually see like a full blown breakout from Gesicki this year.
Yeah,
if they're going to keep doing that.
It definitely made me think more about it for sure. It definitely put into my, I guess, mind of, all right, maybe I should be actively looking to get Mike Gesicki more, because if he's available at a spot that I like, sure, I had no problems taking Mike Gesicki, but it wasn't an active, oh, I need to get him. After that preseason game, it was a little bit, okay, maybe I should start actively looking out for his name in drafts and starting to target him a little bit more. So that definitely the case. And so Miami, outside of that, though, we talked about running backs, tight end, but wide receiver, like Devontae Parker is still looked at as the number 1 guy. I have to be honest,
look good.
This offense has a strict focus on tight ends. That was one thing notable. But just from what I've been hearing from training camp and the way that they're using them, a lot of motion. This offense is going to be strictly built around how many ways we can try and involve Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, they were using him in the return game, and
all of it.
Yeah, you can. He belongs there, and it's clear. So I don't like going after rookie receivers in the same way I don't tend to go after rookie tight ends, but I'm not gonna really fight you if you decide to go at them. If you decide to get him go after him in the 9th, 10th, 11th round, he looks good. He's already going higher than Devontae Parker. So a case can be made for Parker going in the 13th, 14th round. A lot of these Miami pieces are going really, really late. So you can get a lot of good value. And one guy that you definitely got to keep an eye on. I don't know how long he's not going to be, he's going to be on the PUP list, and I don't know how long it's going to be before he sees some time on the field. But Preston Williams is not a bad football player.
Yeah.
Before he tore his ACL, he looked like he was fighting for that number one wide receiver spot with Parker. So don't forget about him sitting there waiting to come back from injury. He is a really good wide receiver, and he is always forgotten about. And he's not getting picked up anywhere. He's just somebody that you can keep an eye on the waivers. And if you start hearing rumblings of him coming back onto the field, it may be worth kind of a stash spot a week early on your seasonal leagues, and see if he can get back into where he was at last season.
Yeah, and he's a wide receiver, I think, that would work well with Tua as well. I'm concerned about Parker. I don't know if Parker's the kind of guy that Tua's going to be comfortable throwing up 50-50 balls to. Tua likes to throw precise, accurate passes in the short intermediate game. And I think it leads a lot to Preston Williams and Jalen Waddle in those.
And 50, I mean, and to have a big tight end like Gesicki that can catch the ball too. Yeah, I think Devontae might end up being the odd man left out towards the tail end of the season, but that all depends on how once he gets activated from the PUP list, how quickly they want to get him back into the offense, whether they need him or not. It's just something to think about. But I definitely I love Preston Williams. Shout out James Adams, because I think he was the one that got me turned on him originally, like way, way, way early on, and told me to keep an eye on him. So
James Adams, that's a good name right there.
You
were tuned in WinDailySports.com. We're previewing the AFC East. Again, sign up for a 6-month Win Daily membership for $100 off when you sign up. Use the promo code NFL 2021. You can get all the preseason rankings and even a little bit of a way too early DFS lineup right now for my guy Stoweby. So you can definitely do that. So next team over in the AFC East. How about we go to them New England Patriots? I guess first question we do have to ask, how do you think the quarterback situation plays out? I think we're all under the assumption Cam Newton definitely starts week 1. But does Mac Jones at some point make his way into the starting lineup?
You've been down here in North Carolina for a long time too, so you've seen plenty of Carolina Panthers games, and you can kind of vouch for me here. Cam Newton's mechanics have gotten worse every year since he's been in the NFL.
Yeah, the shoulder's definitely a problem.
He's tight, and he also throws off his back foot constantly. He leaves the ball high, which leads to a lot of issues, and it gets worse every single season. And the guy's health is not – it's something that is a legitimate concern for a running quarterback his age. So, you could tell the Patriots did not want him throwing the ball last year. They hid him from the defenses because of how many issues he was having, just mechanic wise, and with just inaccuracy and throwing the ball high and throwing interception, he didn't have good wide receivers. He didn't have good tight ends. I understand that. I get that. That's part of it, but this is not 2015 Cam. I don't think he's going to be starting after the bye week. That's been my stance on it the whole time. I think Cam doesn't come out of the gate hot and like hitting, 65% of his targets and not throwing these ugly passes and costing them football games. If he does that again, he's not going to be the starting quarterback when the bye week comes around.
So when coming into this offseason and going into the training camp, there were 2 tight ends that I was looking at, both on the same team, and both on the team we're talking about.
Yep.
I was looking at Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I think it's a perfect spot for a tight end, and especially if Mac Jones, whenever he does come in, I think it's great. And so those are 2 guys I'm taking flyers on. Mm-hmm. With Hunter Henry, he's dealing with an injury, I think, right now.
He's dealing with an injury.
Yeah, and it's I think it's put into my mind, I think a lot of others, and again, looking at the Win Daily Sports rankings, which was just updated yesterday, Jonnu Smith, he is 16th. Hunter Henry is 23rd. And that's kind of right along the lines of what I am starting to believe in that, Hunter Henry's been hurt. He's a good, talented tight end. He gets hurt a lot, but it just seemed like Jonnu Smith is kind of making his way to be that top tight end in New England. And if that's the case, I think both tight ends can work in a New England offense, but I feel like Jonnu Smith is the one I want to be drafting.
Yeah, and if I were to you give me a preference, I would say Jonnu Smith as well. I mean, we saw what he could do in Tennessee. He's a big old boy and he can move. So he fits perfectly. Now, if Cam was to have a good season, it's going to be because both of those guys are probably having a lights out year. So if it's just I'm always concerned about Cam and his mechanics. Belichick, he can't hide them for another season. The Patriots fans are going to be calling for a change early, but I have taken some shares of both of them. What I like to do with in best ball drafts is just take both of them. Just take them both late because they're going so late, and then you have your tight end situation, and you can pick up a third one somewhere. So you're going to get it no matter what.
So I'll ask this then, because running backs and wide receivers, we could go over both, and we can like sort it all out. Like, let's try and sort out the running backs and wide receivers in New England. I'll start off with this. Is it worth actually sorting it out and figuring out who could be a top wide receiver or a top back in New England?
I don't care about the wide receivers at all. I am full fade on the wide receivers. I'll let that be somebody else's headache. But New England, for the first time in probably my lifetime, they have a pretty clear path, at least from what I can tell, for running back. It seems like this is Damien Harris's job, and
it was his last year before the injury.
Yeah,
it was because all of reports coming out of camp was he is by far clearly 100% the lead back in New England.
Yep.
And then the injury came, and took a while for him to get into the season. And then when he got into the season, had to work his way back into that role. But I imagine if he comes in healthy to start the season, he's a lead back. He's the number one guy.
And I heard rumors. I don't know if that is no longer a thing, but I heard they were potentially shopping Sony Michel, and Ramondre Stevenson did not look terrible the other night.
Look good.
And I know it was against third and fourth string defenses. I get that, but he was kind of weaving, bobbing, and going through there. He looked like he trimmed down a little bit from when he was in Oklahoma. He's a big guy, but he seems to still be able to get away from defenders. So that's something to keep an eye on too, because Belichick is keen on screwing everybody over in the running game. So it's just something to think about for week
always
2.
In the back of my mind. And when you're drafting a New England running back, that always has to be in the back of your mind.
Yeah, definitely be worried. I know Damien Harris is supposed to be the top back there, but I don't
how much do you trust that in New England?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Watch Damien Harris get all the work between the 20s, and then Stevenson will get all the goal line work, and he'll get 14 touchdowns or something. Stupid.
All right, so the last division here that we are going over for the AFC East, which we're previewing right now, it is the New York Jets. Zach Wilson
looked pretty good.
Looked all right, but reports out of camp are that he's Sam Darnold 2.0. I don't know what to make of Zach Wilson, mostly because I don't know what to make about a quarterback in New York with the Jets. So I guess how much of the shares of this offense is predicated on whether or not you believe in Zach Wilson?
I am not messing with Zach Wilson himself, but there were still pieces that were functional for the Jets last year with Darnold and with Gaze. So I'm still guys like Jamison Crowder. I always like to pick him up because you can get him at the tail end, and he's just a good filler wide receiver. And he actually had some pretty big weeks last year, even with the Jets being what they were. And I don't know what to make of him either. I'm having a hard time, because how much of Sam Darnold was Sam Darnold? And you know what I mean? That's how much of his issues were the Jets organization and coaching staff and personnel decisions, and how much of it was him as a bad quarterback. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I'm a little bit hesitant to make any sort of definitive statements about the team, because Adam Gase, honestly, he's going to go down as one of the worst head coaches in NFL history.
Yes, he will. Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I guess that's a long way of saying I don't really know about the Jets. They have some pieces. I like Denzel Mims. He's a freak of nature.
I was about to say, is there a wide receiver that at least you're interested in and just kind of keeping your eye on?
Denzel Mims. I was watching him. I was waiting on him to break out last year. The guy looks like kind of like Julio did when he was first coming into the league. Big, strong, fast. The guy is a monster. He could potentially be a superstar in the NFL. He just he's just stuck in a bad situation. I would like to see him on a team with a competent front office and a competent quarterback, and maybe Wilson ends up being that. But
yeah, could definitely be. The running back situation in New York, though, this is what I don't get. I don't get the love for Michael Carter. I think he could be an okay back, but like this guy is strictly a just power back. I don't know why everyone's dismissing Tevin Coleman. I just don't get it.
I'm not dismissing
I cannot,
it.
exactly. Like I can't dismiss Tevin Coleman. I do like this. More out of Ole Miss. Yes, Elijah Moore. I think that's one that, late in drafts, I will take a flyer on Elijah Moore, like really late in a draft if I can. Absolutely. He's certainly a guy to keep your eye on. But with the New York Jets backfield, I don't get the Michael Carter love. I truly don't.
Look, I'll explain why I'm Tevin Coleman. It has to do. You got a rookie quarterback. You have potentially a bad offensive line. What you're going to want to do, you're not going to want some small rookie running back in there protecting him, protecting him from getting hurt or having issues getting dinged up. What you want is a solid running back on passing down works that can throw some blocks, that can catch some passes, that is familiar with the offense, and that is just safe and reliable. You need to protect your long-term investment. It's worth the year with Tevin Coleman to protect Moss and let him get up, or Wilson, and let him get up to speed. And by the way, Tevin Coleman worked with the I'm going completely brain dead on the Jets coach, but it's the same coaching staff.
Robert Saleh, yeah.
He's already dialed in. He's already familiar with the play calling and the offense, and they're going to want to protect that rookie running back. So I don't really see Michael Carter being able to accomplish that early on. And so I'm going to be on Tevin Coleman all day. I can get him at the very end of the draft, and it's likely he's going to be getting the bulk of the work there.
I completely agree. I think he gets the bulk of the work. If anything, Michael Carter could take away some of these short yardage touches.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it, though. I think that's all Michael Carter in season 1 projects as. And I think, sure, later in his career, he could become more than that. As of now, I think he only projects as a goal line back, and that's likely the situations are going to use him in.
Yeah. Coleman makes entirely too much sense with just the coaches that they got around and what they're going to need to just keep Wilson from getting, just keep him from seeing ghosts. To have a Sam Darnold kind of reference there. You got to protect your quarterback because they can develop bad habits early on if they're always having to worry about somebody coming back, catching them on the blind side and potentially, ruining them for years to come. I mean, we're looking and we're seeing what's going on with Carson Wentz now. We saw what happened with Andrew Luck. We saw what happened with Sam Darnold. We see all these talented quarterbacks all the time that they basically get the yips because they're tired of getting hit. And it's protect your quarterback, and the rest of it kind of works itself out.
Yes, it will. And speaking of working itself out, that's what we're doing here for the NFL divisional previews. Look at that. Look at you, buddy. Done. I'm not going to show mine off. I think that's illegal. But Stoweby, good stuff, man. Always good talking some of these divisional previews with you. Again, sign up Win Daily Sports right now. And if you want to see the promo code or want to link to that promo code, it is on our Twitter page at Win Daily Sports. Make sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. But sign up, Win Daily Sports. Get ready for the football season with us. Not me, but Sticks Picks, guys like Stoweby. They'll have you covered for the NFL football season. Even Ghost. Ghost is on hiatus, but just wait till the football season.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, he's on a hiatus, but he's working in the background.
Look at that. Yeah. No, he definitely is.
He's in the background doing his thing. Don't worry. He'll come out with a vengeance.
He absolutely will. And we will tomorrow when we break down. I don't know what the last division is. Is the last division the AFC North? I think it might be the AFC North, our final division for the divisional preview. I think we got over the South. I think we got over the West. And so now it is the AFC North. We'll do that tomorrow here, Win Daily Sports, probably around 5:30 right here on the YouTube channel, WinDailySports.com.
Oh, my God.